Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One roundup on this Sunday. Hopefully you've had a good weekend so far. Has the football ruined or made your weekend? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be replying and responding to all of your thoughts as per usual. You can continue that debate and conversation by joining the Discord server, the link in the description. It's free of charge. Like I said, continue that conversation and debate. We've got an amazing community in that server, so go and join that. If you're interested, I would join it. I'm already in it, but if I wasn't, I certainly would consider joining it. I also consider leave a like and subscribing as well. Be part of the journey on the road to 4.5 thousand subscribers. We're doing really well. We're doing really well. And that's down to you. Thank you so much. We've got so much content to bring you as we now do head into the business end of this campaign. But it's been so much fun, and the fun is only going to continue. Be part of the journey and do both of those things. It really would be appreciated. Let's start off by talking about Lincoln City versus Oxford United. So it finishes Lincoln City 1, Oxford United 0. The XG for the game 1.18 to Oxford's 0.78. I mean, it's another loss for Oxford. Encouraging performance, that must be said, and I'll say that right at the start because I think that is important to mention. However, this is a results-based business, and right now we're not getting results. Winless in the last 9. The first game, of course, without Carl Robinson. He was sat this time last weekend, but confidence is at rock bottom. It's on the floor, and you can just tell by looking at the players, the body language, they are just drained of confidence, and we need something to give. We need something to happen, and every single game you go, it could be this one. Lincoln weren't brilliant yesterday. They weren't brilliant. The goal came from a penalty in the first half. The second half, Oxford were on top. We did have rhythm. You can see by looking at the attacking momentum graph there. We were on top in that second 45. However, because the confidence is so low right now, you just don't think it's going to happen. And I can break it down, I can look at the stats, I can analyse it as much as I want, but the problem we've got is the players aren't believing in themselves. And I can't blame them, because when you look at the statistics, when you look at the run we're on, it's turgid, it's terrible, it's relegation fodder. I mean, just look at the league table, we will in a minute. We are 4 points from the bottom 4, teams below us have got games in hand. You can't really argue as to think why these players are really short of confidence. And that's a real concern. Such a big concern. The second half, like I said, there is encouraging moments. And I spoke to Jake Tong, who's a Lincoln City fan. He's got a podcast, Stacey West podcast. An amazing guy. I called him up this morning, sort of digest the game. I watched it. He watched it. He was actually at the game. I watched it from home. And we were sort of speaking about Lincoln weren't brilliant. Lincoln weren't fantastic. They've got a bit of a problem where it didn't really matter in terms of the scoreline, obviously, in this one, but they have got a bit of a track record this season, being quite sloppy in possession when they start winning in a game. They go 1-0 up, they don't kill it off. And they've been disappointed with the results in the past, and that has cost them points. This didn't need to cost them any points because to Oxford United right now going forward and across the season have been horrendous. So in terms of killing a game off, you only really need to score one goal to win a game against Oxford. That's how it feels, and I think that probably is how it is. But they allowed Oxford to get into the game. And without their goalkeeper, Rushworth, who was incredible yesterday, this should have been more than no points for Oxford. It really should be. I know it's a cliche thing. I know I'm biased because I'm an Oxford fan, and people will say we won't be saying that about the other games if it's necessary. But I do believe Oxford deserve more than nothing from the match. I do indeed. I think we should have got a point. The chances we had deserved a point. The goalkeeper, Rushworth, who I think, and Jake said it himself on the call this morning, he is probably one of the... This is not Jake, by the way. Jake thinks he's one of the top 3 goalkeepers in League One. He doesn't. Rushworth probably should be, and that's what he said, and I would have to agree. Based on yesterday's performance, I probably would have to put Cooper and Trafford into that conversation. There are other brilliant goalkeepers, but I think Rushford showed, and that's not the point of the conversation, by the way, but I think Rushford shows every single week, but especially in this game, that he can just win games and pick up points just on his own, and save points on his own as well. And the Odonka header was a great header. You feel sorry for Odonka because he's been a breath of fresh air since he's come into the football club and played a part of this first team. And it's a great header. He can't do much more. The goalkeeper saved it. A great reflex shot. It's a reflex save, from the strike. And you just feel nothing's giving. And I said that right at the start. What is giving right now? You just want something to happen. Positive. And it's not. And bad luck, maybe. But we haven't been very good, and we can't blame it all on luck. But you feel as though luck did play a bit of a part, but not in the right reason for Oxford yesterday. Pen decision, obviously we'd have to mention that. I said to Jake as well, it's probably a soft penalty. It probably is a soft penalty. However, Long knows better than to not make that type of challenge. Did he see him coming? Because I think the player sort of ran across Long. As I was saying, how the player was definitely sort of having momentum in the run, and Long maybe got a little bit short-sighted, didn't see the player come across him. He sort of aimlessly hits the ball away with his foot, and obviously he catches the player as he runs past him, and he goes down. The referee gives the penalty. The problem you've got is, does one, Long see it? And two, it still is quite clumsy to make that challenge in the penalty area. Again, if he doesn't see it, then that isn't really an argument. But, and you probably am being a little bit harsh with that, but the referee has given it. And I think, yeah, it is a little bit soft. But at the same time, you can see the players, when it did get given, none of them really were arguing against the decision. I think that actually makes a bit of a part when it comes to confidence as well. Players are sort of not claiming or trying to claim against the decision because they don't really believe in themselves. They don't believe that the referee's made the wrong decision, because we're so short of confidence, in a playing style, but also every other element of the game. We feel so second best when it comes to that, and we need to get ourselves out of a rut. We've got Derby County next Saturday. Is that making it any easier? Definitely not. We'll have a look at the league table. We will look at the league table because that is important and we can break a game down. But right now it's a results-based business, like I said, and that's 4 straight defeats on the bounce. And you can see now only 4 points from the relegation zone. Teams have got 2, 3 games in hand on Oxford, some of them. It's a real concern. They're not going to guarantee to win those games, but with Charlton winning, with Accrington winning yesterday, Morecambe getting a point, I mean, it's not great, is it? And that gap is, every game that Oxford lose, the chances are someone in that bottom, the bottom 4, but also you'd add 3 more teams that in that bottom 7, some of them are going to get points. You'd like to think, or you wouldn't like to think, but you probably would think. For Oxford, definitely not. That's going to be the hope there, but ultimately we're putting ourselves in a really dangerous position, and if things don't improve, 17 defeats from 35 games. It's been a horrendous campaign, and we've got to be in survival mode. I said it last week after that defeat to Bristol Rovers. Right now, survival mode has to be the message, and I mean, it's not a great game to come back with when I talk about that. Lincoln City, I think they are safe now. I don't know whether or not that was in conversation. I think Lincoln were going to stay up regardless because they have been fairly good this season. They've had quite a promising campaign. A lot of draws, 17 draws, but it's a win yesterday. 44 points now, mid-table, probably where Lincoln deserve to be based on their campaign. Domination in possession, more shots on target, a higher XG. No, not higher XG. Similar, but not a higher XG. But more efforts, and definitely in the second half the better side. But points is what is important here right now, and we're not getting those points. It's no points. Lincoln come away with all 3. Concerning times, Oxford. We need to get a manager in so quickly. So quickly. Who's it going to be? Favourites are swaying towards Michael Appleton. I'm not entirely sure yet. It needs to happen Monday or Tuesday. They need to get a good run of training through next week, mentally, sort of absolutely brush aside what we've seen so far, start again. Huge game for the new manager. Hopefully, Derby County on Saturday. We'll have to wait and see, but not great yesterday. Better, but like I said, it's points that are letting us down. Once again, that was a big part in what has been a very tough season. Right then, let's move on to Sheffield Wednesday against Peterborough United. It finishes Sheffield Wednesday 1, Peterborough United 0. The XG for the game, 0.87 to Peterborough's 0.15. Sheffield Wednesday, a classic potential champion performance. Again, it is, in my eyes, again, a really strong defensive performance. I thought the back 3 was sublime. The XG suggests that they didn't have to do too much, but that has to be given credit to Wednesday because they didn't allow Peterborough to get any type of rhythm in the game. You can see the graph there. Not many times did Peterborough come forward, and when they did, were they great chances? Did they come forward with much problem? Not really. I've got here the XG for the game, obviously 0.15, but also the low XG and only 3 shots to concede from a Sheffield Wednesday point of view is very good. Across the board, less possession. Sheffield Wednesday, that is nothing new, especially at home. I wouldn't say that, especially against a side like Peterborough United. They're strong. Peterborough, they've got some good players. However, Wednesday are ruthless, and they are showing like I don't want to keep repeating, but potential champion mentality. They're not fearing any opponent. They're being so professional. They're looking at a game and they're just seeing through it. And it comes down to just getting the job done. And at the business end of the season, we talk about Oxford again and how results, and it is a points and results-based business. Wednesday are ticking all those boxes at all the right times. And definitely this is the correct time to do so. They're fighting and they're not giving up. And the mentality right now with a 3-point cushion and a game in hand is something quite special. Wednesday fans will be and should be so excited. I've got a few other elements here as well. Bannon was brilliant. I want you to go and, the first thing you do after this is go onto YouTube and look at the highlights for Sheffield Wednesday against Peterborough and the goal. I know it was an own goal, but the Barry Bannon pass to Brown is exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. The pass, the vision, he's experienced. We know it. He's top level of just, I mean, how he's 34 years of age, but he's got the technical ability of, I'd say the best player in League One. I'm happy to say that. The technical ability, certainly the best player in League One. In that position, obviously, it's very subjective. But in terms of midfielders and attacking players, he is number one for me. And that pass, it's just so special. To have the vision, to look up and just delicately find that pass through to Brown. It's delicate, it's exquisite. It ticks all of those boxes. And Brown, that's a good cross actually. It's a really good cross, and the player gets unlucky and hits it into his own net. But it's such a good move. And you only need one of those. When you're defensively so strong like Wednesday are, you only need one of those to give. You only do. So fair play. I've got here, I wrote here about the own goal being forced upon with Brown. But that Barry Bannon pass is something that is just the highlight of the game. It sounds so silly, but I think that is the highlight of the game and sums up his season and also, I'd say, Sheffield Wednesday. By looking at the graph here, it is a blow for Peterborough United in their ongoing playoff push for Wednesday. You do not want to play them right now. You don't. The form they're on, 4 straight wins, unbeaten in, I think, 22 games. You don't get much better than that. You really, really don't. There we go. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Peterborough United 0. My man of the match would have to be Barry Bannon. It just would be Barry Bannon in the game. Fair play to them. Darren Moorside just cruising along right now. Cruising along. It could be cruising to the title. We'll have to wait and see. Let's move on to the next game. So next up, Derby County 2, Shrewsbury Town 2. The XG for the game 1.42 to Shrewsbury's 1.08. A great comeback from Shrewsbury Town. That second half in particular was fantastic. 2-0 down at half time. The belief and mentality in that squad is second to none. Not an easy place to play football whatsoever, Pride Park, but they showed they can compete. Incredible Roberts strike for the first goal. That has to be said. And some of the goals in this game were so good. That Roberts one is the first one, and such a good hit. He's a defender hitting balls like that. Some strikers dream of striking a football in that manner. A really good hit from Hayden Roberts on loan from Brighton. And the second goal, a little bit dubious. They're asking Shrewsbury for a foul. I think it's a high kick on the player. That's going to be the argument. It would be a little bit soft. I'm sorry, Shrewsbury fans. I'm going to give you a lot of credit. That seemed a little bit soft. And even if that is a foul or it isn't a foul, regardless of the decision, you lost 3 50-50s. Definitely 2 if you don't count the one that is called as a potential foul. 3 50-50s, you lose those on the bounce in the same phase of play, you're going to get caught out. I think they did. They concede the goal. McGoldrick in front of goal is not going to miss that type of chance just before half-time. They say the perfect time to score, and to go 2-0 up at that point, you feel confident. You feel comfortable. Derby County fans, players, and probably the coaching staff, they feel Paul Warne is the right type of manager to guide your way through a game, 2-0 up, especially going into the second half with the quality in that side. But it wasn't to be. And like I said right at the start, I'm going to give Derby credit, I'm going to give Shrewsbury credit, because an actual game of football, it was really special, really, really good. And I think it was a great advert of League One football. Derby will be gutted they couldn't come away with the 3 points. We'll look at the goals in just a second for Shrewsbury in the second half. But the firepower, I think Steve Cottrell in his half-time team talk clearly worked, because they did come out fighting. He made 2 changes at half-time, and that did change the game a little bit. I would say it changed the game. It certainly changed the complexion of the match. Good free kick from Tom Bayliss, a really good hit. Question marks over the goalkeeping. It was near post. I probably have to say, though, he must have been short-sighted. A goalkeeper of Joe Will-Smith's quality would be saving that and should be saving that. He looked gutted, which suggests he probably did make a mistake, and he wasn't really sort of shouting at his defenders maybe to sort of say that he was short-sighted in that moment. But I think he probably was. A near-post effort like that, it is a really good hit. I'm not taking anything away from the strike from Tom Bayliss from the set piece. But I think from that position, the goalkeeper probably should be doing a little bit better. I think he was short-sighted because he sort of dived quite late, which does suggest that he didn't see it the entire way through. And then the penalty from Luke Leahy in the 72nd minute. It's definitely a penalty. It's definitely a penalty. I don't understand why Derby fans, or how Derby fans can be thinking that's not a penalty. You can actually see whether the contact is there or not, which it probably is, might be minimal, I don't know, we have to ask the player, and he's never going to be completely honest, but you can see by pausing it at that moment, by watching it back, 2 hands like that on the back of a defender in the penalty area is always going to be given. It's so silly, it's so naive. The referee is always going to make that call. He's always going to make that call. you'd be kicking yourselves. You'd be kicking yourselves. And I think Derby fans and players will be. Not really the fans' fault. And I think there'll definitely be question marks over that decision. To make that type of challenge in the penalty area is just stupid. I mean, I could try and think of a better word, but I don't think I can. It's just so silly. The referee's always going to make that call. No complaints for me. It's definitely a penalty. Luke Leahy competes. He does compete. He does convert in the 72nd minute, and it is 2-2. Someone sort of wrote this comment about this game, and they said, I think Shrewsbury gave Derby way too much respect in the first half. In the second half, they came out. And I know you can look at the comeback, you look at the half-time score, that sounds a little bit obvious, but the XG and the statistics do back this up. In the first half, Shrewsbury had an XG of 0.02, pretty much nothing, no chance at all. In the second half, they got going. The respect was gone. They realised, look, we're 2-0 down to Derby, but we're not going to make this silly. We're going to go at them. We're going to make this really tough. Derby might think the game's won. The game probably should be won at that point with the quality Derby County have got. But Shrewsbury, they've been so good this season. They've got some great players in that squad, a quality manager. The XG in the second half for Shrewsbury, 1.07. They came out fighting. Not massively high in the grand scheme of things, but compared to their first half XG, there's a gigantic change. The graph backs it up as well. Derby all over Shrewsbury in the first half. Second half, especially the first 20-30 minutes, Town so on top. So on top. And I'd say deserve the point in the end. I would say they did deserve the point. Derby, frustrating in their push, and their ongoing now push for top two. They're still in fifth, 62 points. I probably would say the top two automatic promotion push dream is probably a little bit over for Shrewsbury. They can't stop fighting. They have got quite a few more games played than Barnsley. I think it's 3 more. You can see the games played, and there still is a gap of 7. I don't think they're going to get in the top 6, I'll be totally honest. However, they've shown they've got a great squad there. They're building something. Steve Cottrell is the right manager to do it. They've got to try and keep hold of him. There will be championship clubs knocking and sort of sniffing around his services because he's a top manager at this level, and you can see this campaign, they've built a great squad. They're playing some good stuff, and they're winning games and getting points away at sides like Derby, where are not easy whatsoever. And that should be a massive credit. Positive things ahead for Shrewsbury and Derby, that must be said. They've been brilliant, Derby County, through the season. This one, though, will feel a little bit like a blow, especially when you look at where the game was at half-time in particular. Anyway, let's move on to the final game, Plymouth against Charlton. So the final game we're going to be looking at in great detail. Plymouth 2, Charlton 0. The XG for the game, 1.83 to Charlton's 0.45. The home record, the very strong home record of Plymouth, only does continue. And they're not giving up, are they? They are not giving up. They believe, they hope, and with performances and results like that, why don't they? They can get in the top 2. They can go on and potentially win the league. I know Sheffield Wednesday are doing great things. I probably would say Wednesday are still the favourite for the title in my eyes, but certainly the top 2. Performances like that suggest there's no reason why they can't do it. No reason why they can't do it. They stayed in the game. They're strong defensively. They took the chances. Very, very clinical. The first goal, which is, let's break it down. The first goal is really difficult to actually explain because it's second into the second half, and it's not a mistake from Lucas Ness, but just Charlton were in the match. They were in the match. Sounds silly, in the game, as in they were competing, you'd say, at 0-0, and you do not want to give away a silly goal, especially not this early into the second half at Plymouth, just by looking at their record. Going 1-0 down is a killer, an absolute killer, and it's not a mistake. Lucas Ness basically lumps it up the pitch, or tries to lump it up the pitch, it gets intercepted. Ryan Hardy sort of then bounces back over the defence. The pace of Ryan Hardy getting in behind is just so impressive, and the finish is also great as well. He actually had a chance in the first half, 1-on-1, that he missed, and the skill from Azaz and the ball control with the pass was so good and deserved a goal. But Ryan Hardy didn't miss the chance he got in the second half when he made it 1-0. A really good strike in the end, 1v1, but to get in behind, that's the good bit, that's the clever bit from a striker, the poacher instinctive moment where he just sees the ball go over the top and he climbs onto it. That's what he can do. That is what he can do, and it's disappointing from a Charlton perspective. Like I said, they are competing, and you do not want to give away something like that, which is quite sloppy and it is avoidable. But it's what Plymouth do. It's what Plymouth do, and it's what Ryan Hardy can do in front of goal. The second goal is just a smooth counter-attack and the sign of a side who have been brilliant this season. The smoothness, the intelligence, the know-how of where every player is on the football pitch from an attacking perspective. A great turnover, a great counter-attack. Charlton caught in transition. They're going for it. Sort of in the 87th minute, only 1-0 down. There's a real chance, and they get caught out, and Plymouth come forward with the counter-attack and finish and kill the game off. And that's what Plymouth do. Plymouth are so good at killing the game off. They did it against Oxford. They've done it against so many positions this season where you think there's a chance here. They maybe give them a little bit of hope, and then Plymouth go, no, we're not having this. Go up the end of the field and finish it all off. And that's why they are where they are. And that's why, like I said, they've got all the hope to go and reach the aspirations that they set at the start of the season, and certainly have shown throughout the campaign so far. They're just so good. They are really, really good, especially at home. Stephen Schumacher has built a fortress and a brilliant, fantastic squad there as well. Right then, let's go around the grounds because there were other games. That's only 4. It finishes Ipswich 4, Burton 0. A really good, convincing result for Ipswich. Interestingly, Burton not really having too much of it. A bit more than I maybe thought, but Ipswich definitely in control, win the game 4-0, comfortable. 0-0 between Bristol Rovers and Barnsley. Not a great game of football, to be fair. Not a great game of football. 0-0s never are. Cambridge 0, Pompey 1. Cambridge, not a bad performance. Disappointing for them to lose that game. Portsmouth maybe a little bit lucky at times, but they took their chance. John Mousinho is getting a real rhythm. 9 points in 1 week, I think, for Pompey. That's quite impressive. Wycombe 1, Exeter 1. A really good point on the road for Exeter. Wycombe now probably losing a little bit of faith in the fact that their top 6 push could be coming to an end. Of course, losing Gareth Ainsworth was always going to be a blow. Bloomfield coming in needs time, but a 1-1 draw there at home. You expect better from Wycombe. Accrington Stanley 2, Forest Green Rovers 1. Forest Green looked down and out, and with that result, I think it probably will be over. I think they will be playing League 2 football next season. Accrington, a huge win for them in their relegation dogfight for Oxford. Not a great result. Accrington, a really strong result for them. We talked about that one, thankfully. Port Vale 1, MK Dons 0. MK Dons, a very, very bad result in their relegation fight. Port Vale, though, a really strong home win, which you've seen quite a lot this season. They're doing great things. Another brilliant 3 points. Cheltenham 1, Fleetwood 0. We talk about a relegation fight around the grounds. It's heavily focused on sides competing to stay in the league, and Cheltenham is one of those. A great win for them against Fleetwood, who have a brilliant away record. Fleetwood disappointing on the afternoon. Morecambe 0, Bolton Wanderers 0. The early kickoff that didn't really set off any fireworks, did it? It didn't really. Bolton disappointed with that, not being clinical, not taking chances, which we thought they had improved on. They brought a lot of strikers in January. We thought maybe that could be a solved problem. Not really. Not really good. Both goalkeepers getting man of the match. Says quite a lot. The strikers of Bolton not doing very well, and the goalkeeper and the defence of Morecambe putting in a great show. So that finishes Morecambe 0, Bolton 0. And finally, the league table you can see there as well. The bottom 4 consists of Morecambe, MK Dons, Cambridge and Forest Green Rovers, with Oxford, Cheltenham, Burton and Accrington all in contention to go down as well. A top 6 of Barnsley, Derby, Bolton, Ipswich, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday. Of course, Sheffield Wednesday 3 points away from second place with a game in hand. Barnsley only played 32 games. Teams above and below them really, but the teams chasing below them have got less games to play, so they're in a nice position as well. A 0-0 draw to Bristol Rovers, though, that could have been even more. Lots of top 6 teams dropping points and drawing games this weekend. Very, very interesting. It's so unpredictable. It's a brilliant league. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please do leave a like and subscribe, and have a good rest of your Sunday. Got a good video out coming up with Tom Chapel, of course, and 4-0 written all over it tomorrow, hopefully, as you're watching this on Sunday. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, everybody.